Oh boy, this
Yeah,
is a hard
Crystal.
one.
I remember when she was born, and Tammy was so dark and beautiful and everything. Krista was very pretty, but she was just round and blonde and just she was full of life. She was our hardest to when she was a year old. She was in the garbage, she was in the soap, she was in the toilet, she was in the laundry soap everywhere. She was into everything. And she sat at the table, on top of the table, and went from table to each plate to eat dinner.
We can't forget her shoving those rocks in her nose at the zoo, and Sue getting her long fingernails and digging them back out again. But me and Crystal were 16 months apart, so we shared a room together. I was always, Debbie and Cindy usually shared, me and Crystal shared, Scott and Kelly shared, Randy and Jeff shared.
Well, when the house was bought, there was only 3 bedrooms.
Right, that was different.
All boys, all girls.
Right, all together.
And there was 4 of each at that time when
Yeah.
we bought the house on 9th Street.
And then Dad built that addition on the porch.
Yes.
Whatever that was.
What is?
Whatever that was. But Crystal, where we were alike and different was she did not take life as hard as I did. I think she got some of Mom's, whatever flies, however it goes, we're good with it. It's all going to be good. It'll all work out. But she was never someone you were going to fight with. You might fight with someone else, but I don't ever really remember fighting with Crystal. You just didn't. She was happy. She had a beautiful voice. She sang.
She's very, very popular.
Very popular.
Everybody loved Crystal.
She had.
She had friends.
I would call them her harem.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go get your harem again? Yes, Tammy, I am. And that would be like, and we're talking 10 friends minimum. Gonna go somewhere, not 2 or 3. Not go to lunch and have 2 friends with you. No, you're gonna go to lunch and there's gonna be half the school there. And she just loved that. And she taught herself, this is something in her character that I never want to forget, because as popular and beautiful as she was, I was more shy. I had had issues and different things happen, and I was more shy. She was much more out. But if she saw someone at lunch eating alone, she would go get them and bring them into her group of friends. And I always thought, I wish I could do that. I was too shy. But she would just bring them in and include them and make sure that nobody was eating alone at lunchtime. And I thought that was awesome. She had her kids young. She was young, but she worked hard.
Tell me about track.
Oh, her track. Oh my goodness. She started track at 11 and Mesa Track Club. Debbie was shot put, javelin, runner, everything. Crystal literally would, she would run every day, and
With
then Jeff would take her down to the river bottom, and she'd run through sand to make her legs stronger, and you would touch her and she was literally like a rock, so strong. And then she got invited Mount Sac Relays, which was by invitation only. You couldn't just be there.
No, I was with her and watched her, and I ran a 100-yard dash against the world champion at that one. And yeah, it was.
Crystal did they called it the 440-yard dash back then. Now it's the 400 meters. So she did that, and her time
880.
The 880.
With
Yeah,
Jeff.
we called it 880.
Yeah.
But she did that in 2 minutes and 23 seconds. I still have that time ingrained in my brain. And they did a whole news article. She was in the newspaper, and she was so proud of that. But she had absolutely worked so hard, dedicated to make sure she just performed and was good. I was on Mesa Track Club too, and I liked the 880, but I couldn't run it like she did. I could not run it like she did. I did the 400. Cindy was better at the 400, but I did the high jump, and but
They wanted her to do hurdles, and she took one out, and they framed it. And who has
well,
it?
but I never have found out who had it.
Leon had it.
But this is what happened. She was winning, and she was running, and she was doing the hurdle, and her knee somehow hit that hurdle. Just, I don't know how she did it, but the whole hurdle broke. How? And she fell. And she was in the front. She was in the lead. She was winning. And she fell, hitting that hurdle. It cracked. And she got up and finished that race. And everybody stood up and applauded for her for finishing. And
But
they took a piece of that hurdle
and made
a plaque out of it for her.
And I don't know where it is.
On finishing the race.
Yeah.
I don't know either. Don't know what happened to it. I think my dad had it.
Mm-hmm.
But she was an awesome sister. I loved sleeping by her at night. Every night we would hold hands and just share each other's dreams and just talk about our day and what we were going to do and what we were going to be and how awesome life was going to turn out and be. And I loved knowing I had a little sister that was just always there, and fun, and she was just awesome.
When they called to tell me I happened to be over at Aunt Sue's,
Called to tell you
that she was pregnant with Tiffany. And I remember I didn't
she
have
was
any
only
kids
17.
and had 3 before I did.
Yeah.
Your mom had Brandon, it was hard on me, but she was so happy with Tiffany.
And she was a good mother.
Very good mother.
And I don't know how that came out of her so young. So young to be so responsible, especially when you're so popular and all being involved in all the stuff and giving that up to say, I've got to be a mom. And Kenyon came around 11 months later, and she was the cutest. Look, we had Tiffany with the blonde little curly hair, the little ringlet hair. Then we had Kenyon with that beautiful dark brown wavy hair, so pretty. And then she had Miles, and they were the joy of her life. Being a mom was the most important thing in her life. And I didn't really share our fun times of the summer that me, Cindy, and Crystal spent together at our grandparents in Woodruff, which was such amazing time. Again, with awesome grandparents, but that was fun. That we shared too, that she loved, was just enjoying grandparents and being there for all of that. But
she moved to Texas for a little while with us, and Bill really didn't know her because we were married. And when he met her, we got married and we moved to Texas. And her and Bill went and dug up mussels, with those mussels, and they cooked them, and they were like rubber, and they sat and ate those. You just chewed and chewed. And they said, Debbie, I would not even try them. That's where Bill says, I didn't even know her till then. And I had so much fun with her that day. They had so much fun. And the kids, and then they were in San Antonio. Then they moved to Dallas, and Bill's parents got to have them over and do things, and we did things together up there, where it saved me because I wasn't home to Arizona, and it saved her because I was there. And
Yep. They did move around, and I had a hard time with that because I missed her so much. To go from having your sister that you slept by, held hands with, and shared dreams, and then she was off and gone, and so that was hard. But she loved being a mother, and I'm so thankful she got that opportunity. I would have hated that she didn't get that, because that was a big part of her life.
I remember she came to me when I came home for, I think it was Scott's homecoming. And I was pregnant with Donnie. And she came for the homecoming and everything. She walked up to me, grabbed my boobs, and said, "Debbie, you have chi-chis," because I was pregnant. What? And that was okay. And you know what we did when she was in the casket, and we went and checked hers to make sure, and one was gone.
Well, because she had
Breast implants,
breast
and it was
implants.
gone. It busted, or we only sisters would get away. But she'd done it to us. We know it. So yeah. That was the hardest thing I ever went through. Today is being called in Texas. And your sister, you expect your grandparents, you expect your parents, you expect, but not your baby sister. And I couldn't even function. I had just got home from church. I called my girlfriend to come over that was born the same day as her. She helped me pack Donnie and I's things. And I was nursing Donnie and didn't eat all day long. And they had to take me from Bryan College Station to Houston to get on the plane. And I remember just crying. I couldn't pull it together. And this couple was sitting next to me, and they said, "Could you let us hold your little girl so that you could eat?" And they knew I needed to eat. And I can't eat. And I told them that I was going home. My sister had died in a car accident. I just wanted to get home. That was the longest trip ever, to get home and to get off that plane. And Randy and Uncle Jack, I just fell in their arms. And then I came home, and Tammy and I slept together every night.
We still do when we're together.
It was heart-wrenching, tore out our heart. That I've never, ever felt like that of loss since. But that one was the hardest of all, was our baby sister.
You know, it's been, 43 years? And you never quit missing them. But you're not supposed to. I don't think you ever are supposed to ever quit missing the people that you love. And for me, I will never forget my mom coming into my bedroom. It had been Saturday. I had worked so hard that day, and I had gone home, and Krista was on the phone with my mother, and she wanted to talk to me. And I said, "I'm going to grab something to eat. Tell her I'll see her when she comes back home," because she had left a bag, and so she was going to come back for it. I regretted not taking that phone call so many times. But that's just the kind of things that you just don't know. Oh, I'm just going to eat. You'll be here. You'll be here. And I remember going to bed, and my mother coming in my room, waking me up and saying, "Tammy, there's been a car accident. There's been a horrible car accident, and we have got to drive over to John C. Lincoln Memorial Hospital. Can you drive?" And I said, "Yes, but your mind doesn't go to the worst. It just does not. It doesn't. I couldn't even think of my sister having a broken arm. You know, I thought, oh my gosh, if her arm is broken or something, that's going to be horrible. What are we going to do? But we left a note for Scott, and because he is at a church dance, and he had just got home off of his mission, not long before that. But me and my mom, for whatever reason, and this is when miracles come in, is for whatever reason, we got lost and my mother never got lost, ever. And Scott got to the hospital before us, right before us, and then we got there. And I will never forget walking into that hospital. I was carrying Brandon, and Scott's friend that he had gone to the dance was with Scott, and came and took Brandon out of my arms. And I just thought, you know, why? But it's when your whole life changes. In that brief minute, I remember looking at the police officer saying, is my sister okay? How is my sister? And he said, your brother's going to talk to you about it. Go with your brother. Just go with your brother. And I thought, that's weird. Why is he doing that? Just tell me what room she's in and let me go back and see her. If she's, you know, got a sling or a, you know, whatever. And we went back in this little room, and Scott started telling us about all Kenyon had been in a sleeping bag, and she had stayed in the sleeping bag, thank goodness, and didn't roll out of the car. And she was in a room down the hall, but she was scared. And I just remember thinking, I wonder why they don't have her with Crystal. Why isn't she just with her mom? And then Matt had bruised ribs or whatever, but then Tiffany and Miles had been flown to 2 different hospitals, and that's when it started getting scary. 2 different hospitals. Tiffany had rolled down the highway, and she had no skin left on her little body, and her little blonde curls were totally red. And Miles had lost his right skull and his ear, and his hand was crushed. He was 2.5. Kenyon was 4. Tiffany was 5. And I remember looking at Scott, and I said, Scott, where did they take Crystal? Where is she? And I will never forget his face when he looked at me and he said, Tam, Crystal didn't make it. And I didn't even know that was possible. You have a defense mechanism that somehow protects you. But I just thought, how on earth can the world carry on without our sister in it? That can't be. And I remember hearing someone screaming, and I remember thinking, I wish they'd shut up, quit screaming. And then I realized it was me. It's just your life is changed in an instant, and I thought, how can those kids grow up without their mom? It's just not fair. How can they grow up without their mom? But you have to go on. And I wanted to go see her. Scott told me not to. I think I'm glad I didn't at that time. But and I had lost a friend just before her, and it just felt like the world was caving in. Like the world is caving in. This can't be happening. But of our family, she was the first loss we ever had to experience, and the hardest. I can't even But what it does is it helps you have compassion for other people, compassion that you didn't even understand before, because you didn't know how it felt. Now, in my life today, when I know someone is going through something, I literally can feel their pain. I feel it. I can tell them, I might not understand everything, but I can feel your pain, and I know that that's hard. That's just hard. And I went and rocked Kenyon I wanted to go back and get Kenyon. And after I got myself pulled together, I went and just rocked her in a rocking chair. I put a blankie around her and I just sat there and I rocked her. I was so thankful. Oh, that was such a blessing and such a bleak moment that little girl had not gone out of the car. Then we went to the 2 different hospitals for Tiffany and Miles. But the thing that never left my mind was walking out of that hospital. When we had gone to the hospital, it was dark. It was night. When we left the hospital, it had turned daylight. And I remember saying to Scott, how could the sun come up? How can people just carry on? How do things just go like nothing happened? Doesn't everybody know that the world is not like it was, yes, just a few hours ago? And Tiffany and Kenyon, the one thing I want to share with Tiffany is I will never forget, we got met by the hospital priest, and he wanted to go in and say a prayer for Tiffany. And Scott said, I have the priesthood and I'm going to give my niece a blessing, but you can stay in the room with us if you would like to. And I've never forgotten that guy. And I remember just feeling so distraught. And Scott gave Tiffany a blessing, this little 5-year-old little girl. Her arm was broken in a sling. She was just a mess. It was horrible. And he blessed her, and you could feel the peace come into that room. I can still feel that peace. And I remember when he finished that priesthood blessing, I remember the preacher, or whatever you call him, he said, I have been with a lot of people when they've prayed over someone that they love, but I've never felt anything like that before. He just said I've just never felt like that before.
What did Mom do?
And Mom fell down. Mom was standing right by me, and she just fell to the ground. She just completely fell to the ground. And she just said, not Crystal, not Crystal. Please tell me it's not Crystal. And it was just, and I know why we got lost. What happens is you get to look back in these horrible times of your life, and you get to see the blessings. There were so many blessings that night that's a whole nother conversation. But there were so many blessings that, as hard and horrible as it was, I could see the hand of God in so many things that I would be completely ungrateful if I didn't acknowledge those things. I know he was there. I know he protected Tiffany, Kenyon, and Miles. I know that he took Crystal swiftly and that she didn't have to suffer long. And I know that he watched over us during that time, and I feel grateful.
Uncle Bill dedicated the grave.
Yeah.
And when he dedicated it, Tiffany woke up and told the nurse, I know my mama's dead, but she told me I would be a big girl and I could handle this.
Miles woke up at the same time too.
That's her words. She talked to those kids and prepared them.
It was the only time that none of us were there with them, because we were at Crystal's funeral. And Miles was in one hospital, Tiffany was in a different hospital, and because they were so critical, they had nurses sitting by each one of them because none of us were able to be there. And they both woke up at the same time in two different hospitals, knowing their mom had died.
Tell me about your dream.
The one,
I've never seen her. I've never dreamed about her. Nothing since.
I did, and I have to say that it's my testimony. It's something that is close and dear to me. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. So some people would say, well, you were just worn out.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how my personality rolls, even in tragedies or whatever. But I remember coming home from work one day, and Brandon was taking a nap, and it was later in the afternoon, and I told my mom, I said, I think I'm gonna go lay on my bed, and I think I'm gonna just try to rest. And she said, Tammy, that would be good, you need to do that. So I did, and for whatever reason, I fell sound asleep. I hadn't been asleep in a long time, and I fell sound asleep. I don't even know if I shared this with Debbie, but I felt myself leave my body. I felt it, and I could look down and see myself sleeping on the bed. And I thought, this is so weird. This is a weird dream. This is so weird. And then I felt Crystal, and I knew I had the choice to see her or not, and I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't, but I couldn't. But it was a weird communication, so beautiful. I've never felt anything like it before or after, ever. But I knew that she was thankful I had been her sister. And I knew she knew I was thankful. You communicate in a whole different level. I can't explain it. But you just, where we misunderstand how people talk now, there's no misunderstanding. You know exactly how each other is thinking and feeling, and all the blessings of peace. And we just shared how grateful we had been for each other. And then in my mind, I heard her say to me, I have to go now, Tammy. Mom's coming, and I've got to go. I will see you later. Bye. That was it. Mom knocks on my door and says, there's a phone call for you. You need to come and get it. I hate to wake you up, but you need to come and get it. So some people can say, well, that was a weird dream. But I will tell you, I don't dream either, by the way. I don't even dream. So I'm thankful for that. Whatever it was, I'm thankful. And then the other thing that I will say that was shared with me is another night I was home alone, and I was, well, Brandon, and I was just feeling so sad, just so sad. And I remember getting on my hands and knees and saying a prayer. And I said, Heavenly Father, I've gone to seminary. I've gone to sacrament my whole life. I've been active my whole life. I need to know and feel where my sister is. I have to know that she's not in that hole that we watched her be lowered into. I have to know. And I was inspired to pick up the Book of Mormon. The prompting was so strong, and even though I had gone to seminary and graduated and everything, we didn't read like you do today. You didn't study like you did today. And I was prompted, and I kept trying to push the prompting away, and it was, no, Tammy, you asked me a question, I'm going to give you the answer. You want to know where your sister is? I'm going to tell you. But you got to open the scriptures. I just opened the Book of Mormon to Alma 40:12. And then shall it come to pass that the spirits of those who are righteous will be received into a state of happiness, which is called paradise, where they shall rest from all their trouble, care, and sorrow. I've never forgot that scripture in my life. And this peace came over me. I can't even explain it. She's in paradise. You want me to tell you where your sister is? She's in paradise. And she's resting from all this, but you're not going to. You're going to stay. You're going to be here. And so I don't want it to end on how horrible.
I have 2 things more to ask
So
you.
blessing. Okay, keep going.
Tell me about her track mates at her funeral and her Jack in the Box dirty tacos.
Okay.
And
All right.
that'll
Well,
lighten the
okay.
mood.
All right, I'll do tacos at the end.
Okay.
I need to do that at the end. But I do want to say, thank goodness for the small, tender mercies and the miracles, or I wouldn't have survived it. I wouldn't have survived it. But
I had to go back to Texas, and that was the hardest thing. I did not want
to
to go
have to leave.
to leave my brothers and sisters, my family.
That was
to-
hard when she left.
Oh.
It was hard. When it was Crystal's funeral, and you close the casket. It's one of the hardest things you ever have to do. You close the casket, and then you walk behind the casket, and you go into the chapel. And the one thing about LDS funerals that we all know, which I'm grateful for, to tell you the truth, is there's no wailing, there's no loud. Well, you walked in there and I heard some wailing, crying, hard, heavy. And I remember looking up thinking, where's that coming from? And there was a whole row of black girls from her track club that had found out that Crystal Kartchner had been killed. And this was someone who had shared her clothes with them, who had, when they traveled, nobody else would sleep in their room with them, but Crystal said, I'll stay with you. Are you kidding? You guys are the fun ones. I'm staying with you guys. She never treated them different, and they were there literally wailing. And I asked them after the funeral, I said, how did you guys even know? And they said, and you're all here, this row of them. And they said, there is no way we would miss out on Crystal. There is no way. She blessed our life and was always kind to us. And that I've held that close. And yes, I can't tell you how many times she would make me drive miles out of my way to go get a super taco from Jack in the Box. And I would say, Crystal, we can go right over. No, Tammy, we are going to Jack in the Box. We're getting super tacos. That's what we need to have, and that's what we're getting. So just start driving. And that's what we would do. But
I made a dress when I was in Hawaii. She wore it for her school pictures that year. It was a moo, but it was.
oh, I remember it. It had the orange
Yes,
and the
red. Orange and red,
Yes.
my favorite colors. And then in high school, she wore glitter platform high
Yes,
heels
platform.
and fell off the bleachers. she did everything. She
But-
did everything.
She
How she-
lived a full life at a young age.
And
she
graduated.
didn't miss out on a thing.
And graduated with a baby.
Yeah, she did. And I held you, Tiffany, while Crystal was graduating from high school. And I put her right in my lap and made sure that she watched her mom graduate. And life isn't always easy, but we still get blessings. And it's a hard one. This will just be one of the ones in our life that changed us all forever.
Forever.
Yeah. Any others that you want me to?
I think that's all I remember as far as what to ask.
We loved her. We loved her.
Still love her.
Every one of us just adored her.
She had legs for days.
Oh, she did.
Yes.
She did. And I will tell you this, when she got dressed up, oh my gosh, and we might have cheap clothes, whatever, but she looked gorgeous, always. And she'd walk in a room, and the room, you could just tell, radiated with just, oh my gosh, and who is she? And just beautiful, always beautiful. And I can't wait to see her again someday. That'll be good.
That'll be good.
And this picture was taken the night before she was killed.
And our mom got a call. She had interviewed with what airline? Not,
Southwest.
it wasn't Southwest at that time. America West.
America West.
America West, and told her that she
She got the job.
got the job. And Mom had to tell him that she was killed in a car accident. She was coming home. That's the reason she came to the valley, to tell Mom she was coming home. Can you help me? Mom, yes, we'll do anything. Come
Well, she
home.
came to the valley because I had that friend that was killed at Saguaro Lake, hit by lightning. Who does that happen to? Who does that happen to? And she came, and we spent the whole week together. We went shopping, and we went to lunch, and we went to the movies, and she said, Tammy, I know the best movie to go see. Let's go see Rambo. We're gonna go watch Rambo. And I said, okay, are you? She said, I said, but you've already seen it. You don't want to see a movie that you've already seen. And she said, Tammy, our money is precious. If we're gonna go watch a movie, I want to make sure it's a movie that I already know I like. I know I like it. Let's just go see it. And I think it was Rambo 2, one of the Rambos. It was the last movie I got to see with her. And then she told me that it was like her 4th or 5th time she'd seen it because she knew she liked it. So it was okay. But yeah, it's hard to give them justice.
Yeah.
She was kind of a princess.
Oh, she was a princess.
Because she had eczema from that.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't clean toilets. She didn't clean dishes. She couldn't do any of that because she had eczema, and she lived it up to the hilt. She got away with it.
Of course she did.
Good.
Yeah.